Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As today we got another episode reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today we're going to be taking a look at the Tampa Bay Lightning's offseason as they just fell to the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup finals as they tried to three-peat. They weren't able to though, as they got defeated by the absolute tank of a team in the Colorado Avalanche as they look to improve their team coming up towards this upcoming season, but they had to deal with a lot of big cap moves that they had to do, like trading away Ryan McDonagh, but they made some pretty smart moves, locking up Cirelli, Cernak, and Surekychev. But before we get into all talking about that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated. And if you'd like to become a member of the channel, make sure to join that little join tab. You get some early content, and not just that, you get some cool emotes for when we start up the streaming once again. So let's get into talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning and their offseason as they made a lot of big moves. Of course, getting Nemistakenov, locking up Paul this upcoming season, doing that to Surekychev, Cernak, and Cirelli as well on extensions, of course. So there's a lot of moves to talk about. And of course, like we usually do, we'll jump right into the very first topic, which is the draft. Now, the draft for the Tampa Bay Lightning, I quite liked. There was some pretty good moves, and Isaac Howard was one of them. Isaac Howard was their first round pick, 31st overall, and he's a small little guy, but my God, is he ever an offensive threat. Has an incredible shot. He's okay at skating. That's the biggest thing that he needs to improve upon, but I really think Isaac Howard could be a potential top 6 threat. He's amazing offensively, has a great upside. I really do like Isaac Howard. Was a guy that I really thought the Edmonton Oilers should have went after, but he had 82 points in 60 games there in the U.S. developmental program. I think is a guy that is a very good future player here for the Tampa Bay Lightning and really brings a nice offensive threat for their future development there in their prospect core. Lucas Edmunds as well was a nice pickup as well. He played last year in the Swedish League and then came over to the OHL and just absolutely teared it up. 113 points in 68 games. Another smaller guy, but I think this is another big future boy for the Tampa Bay Lightning to put in their prospect system as well, and adds another big offensive threat for the future. Nick Malik, not a bad goalie prospect, and then not too many other bad picks, but they didn't have too many deep picks and not amazing knock out of the park type of picks. Just an all right draft for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll move into the trades, though. They did make that one deal where they traded away Ryan McDonagh, picking up Philip Myers and Grant Mismash. Now, this is definitely a W for the Nashville Predators in this type of deal. Philip Myers has had many problems among many problems over the last few years, but this does clear up a lot of cap hit for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't have to worry about Ryan McDonagh's $6.75 million contract for the next 4 years. You get rid of it, you don't have to worry about him, especially with the, the up-and-coming Mikhail Surekychev, who could potentially take that top 4 role, which he definitely will, over Ryan McDonagh this upcoming season. So bringing in Philip Myers, who can play in the top 6, is not bad, but he's definitely not an amazing defenseman here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's just an alright top 6 defenseman, but he's nothing spectacular. He's had a tough upcoming, had some tough times there with the Flyers, just a rough year with the Predators, so it's really going to be a big year for Philip Myers. How well will they do? And they seem pretty confident in him, as they did give him an extension of a $1.4 million deal, so they do feel very confident in Philip Myers and his development on him having a really big bounce back season. So I guess we'll have to see how well he does, but I do see this as an L for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They did clear cap, which is what they did need to do, but they lost on the fact that they did lose out on a very good defenseman there in Ryan McDonagh. We move on to the signings now, which they did do a lot of signings here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They locked up a lot of their big boys. And the very first signing we'll talk about here is Nick Paul. He got locked up on a 7-year deal worth $22 million. The AAV is $3.15 million over the next 7 years. And this is a big contract, to say the least. Now, I'm a big fan of Nick Paul. He had an amazing season this past year, throwing up 14 points in 21 games there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Overall, he had 32 in 80 games for the Tampa Bay Lightning and Ottawa Senators. He played up in the top 6 a bit for the Sens as well. Produced some really good defensive numbers, not bad offensively. The biggest thing is, though, he had a really great season last year, or a really good season this past year, but the year before that, he struggled hard. So the biggest thing is if he can stay at the pace that he's at, where he's playing really well defensively, he could be a really, really good, serviceable third-line centerman for the next 7 years for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And quite honestly, it's a perfect time to sign him to that 7-year deal at 27 years of age. That'll bring him until, what, 34 years old? You might see the last few years of that contract hurting them, but honestly, with the window that the Tampa Bay Lightning right now are at, they got like a 5-year window where, like, hey, you know, the next 5 years are probably our best chances to win the cup. Points going into his, you know, prime of his career. Kucherov is about to head out of it. Steven Stamkos is already at 32. If you just lock him up to that 7-year deal, you're going to get him at a cheaper AAV. So honestly, I do see this as a dub. I really like the AAV for Nick Paul, especially if he continues to play the way that he was playing this past season. Nick Paul could be a really good asset moving forward for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So moving forward, they did get Nemistakenov, who had a career year this past season, had a really good production-wise, had about 30 points in about 75 games this past season, had a pretty good season, was almost past his career high when he back in 2015-16, but he did really well. He was his expected offense was amazing. Defensively, he did very well. This is a really good pickup, I think, for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Really good top 6 option, but I think you're mostly going to be seeing Ross Colton jump up in the top 6 more than you're going to be seeing Nemistakenov. I think you're going to be mainly seeing Nemistakenov down on the third line alongside of Paul and Perry, to be quite honest with you. Just that's where I think Nemistakenov will fit a lot better, because I think that's around the minutes you'll want him to be at, is about 14:38, around that 14-15 minute mark. And Ross Colton, I think, will take a massive jump up this year. But Nemistakenov at 2.5, I mean, you really can't go wrong with that type of deal. It's only a 1-year deal, so even if he doesn't do amazing for you, you'll only have him for the year, and then you can just release him and somebody else can take him. So pretty good move here by the Tampa Bay Lightning, picking up Nemistakenov, who plays really well defensively and had a pretty good offensive year this year. Ian Cole got locked up to a 1-year deal, $3 million. I think this is a little bit of an overpayment for Ian Cole, but he plays pretty well defensively, not bad offensively. Just an all-right top 6 defenseman here for the Tampa Bay Lightning that they definitely overpaid on. But, I mean, that was the problem. The market for the defensemen were very short, so you're going to be seeing these type of defensemen getting that type of overpayment just because of the market this past year was very small. So if there's a defenseman out there, you're going to have to overpay him just to get him on your team. So not a bad move. Now we'll get into the 3 big heads. And first up is Eric Cernak, who got locked up to and all these are 8-year deals. Eric Cernak is worth 5.2 AAV, and the value of the whole contract is $41.6 million. I absolutely love this deal. I think this is amazing value for Eric Cernak. $5.2 million is definitely what you were thinking Cernak is definitely going to be worth. One of the best defensive defensemen without a doubt on the team. He's just plays absolutely amazing alongside of, I think it was Ryan McDonough mostly this year. You'll probably be going to be seeing him play alongside of Mikhail Surekychev a lot this year, or either that or Victor Hedman. But Eric Cernak, amazing defenseman, definitely a great keep, and not just that, at $5.2 million is an absolute steal, without a doubt. Cirelli got locked up to an 8-year deal with $6.25 million. And this one, I don't mind either. Now, the biggest thing is with Cirelli, can he get his offensive production going up? You know, he hasn't been able to get over 50 points, and now you're paying him $6.25 million. It's a lot of trust you're throwing into the guy, because this guy has not been a big point producer. Now, he's been an amazing defensive player. That is the top-notch thing about Cirelli, is he's an amazing defensive player who plays really, really well defensively. Doesn't generate a whole lot of offense, but shuts down the play amazingly. So, great signing. But the big thing is if you get that offensive production going, I think this contract can be an absolute steal. With his defensive play, it's not a bad contract, but the biggest thing is can he bring that offense throughout this contract? I think that'll be a big question. It's not a bad contract, but if you can't get that offensive production going, I think it's definitely a little bit of an overpayment. Now, Mikhail Surekychev, on the other hand, got a 8-year, $8.5 million deal. Now, Mikhail Surekychev has showed some all-right years, but he's never really been able to really perfect his game just yet. He showed some great numbers and showed some great highlights, but he's never really been looking like he's an $8.5 million defenseman. Now, for me, this is the biggest risk of all the deals. Now, the thing is, he's 24 years of age. You know, defensemen do take a lot longer to develop. I've seen it from myself as an Edmonton Oilers fan with Darnell Nurse. It's taken him a while to develop into a pretty good defenseman. So I think that's going to be the way that it is going to be with Mikhail Surekychev. He showed some all right years. Now, this year, he's probably going to be playing alongside of have a really good defense partner, most likely in Eric Cernak. So I think you're going to definitely see a jump up in Mikhail Surekychev's game this upcoming season. And I think, honestly, this will be well worth it for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, it's just... that's the biggest thing, is projection. How well will this guy do? Mikhail Surekychev has had a great trajectory. It says, can he really take that big step up this upcoming season to really prove that he's at that $8.5 million range per year? So, big ding. And honestly, all these deals I see worth it. You know, locking up a player towards an 8-year deal is well worth it, especially if you get him at a cheaper AAV like you did with Eric Cernak. Cirelli, you're going to have to pay a little bit more without a doubt. And Mikhail Surekychev, a little bit of an overpayment. But if he could really come into that play, I think that'll be an amazing contract. So, looking forward towards next season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're going to be in some cap hell, especially with the Surekychev contract, Cernak contract, and Cirelli contract all kicking in next season. So they're going to have to do some juggling of some hoops going into next season with all these contract extensions they just handed out. But quite honestly, a pretty good offseason here for Brisbois and the team there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They had some really good pickups during last season with Hagel and Nick Paul. Ross Colton, I think, will take a big jump up this year. So what do I think of the grade here for the Tampa Bay Lightning? I thought their draft was okay. The McDonough trade was kind of an L, but then you locked up Surekychev, which was, it's an all right move. Cernak, amazing. Cirelli, pretty good. The Ian Cole move is definitely an overpayment, but it's only 1 year, so you really can't go wrong with it. Philip Myers, not a bad extension for him as well. He did get that $1.4 million deal next year. Not terrible, but that's the thing, is how well will he play for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nemastankonov, I quite like that move as well. So quite honestly, I think I'm going to give him a B+. The only reason why it's not an A is because the draft is alright. The McDonough trade was kind of an L. Surekychev, I still have question marks on whether or not he will be big. And Cirelli, I think it's a little bit of an overpayment, especially if he can't produce over 50, 60 points per season and is looking to be a second-line guy for them. So I think it's an A move with the Cirelli, so I'm going to give him a B+ here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I thought they had a pretty good offseason, but that's really about it. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Tampa Bay Lightning's offseason. And for now, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.